Hey, I'm Dave Labora. Welcome to Brewed, a TV show that celebrates craft beer. Craft, that is something that is made with your hands, that involves skill. And boy, we've sure met a lot of very skilled artisans on the show. Artisans making beer and artisans making art. Craft beer is the intersection of art and science. Put them together, put them in a glass, there it is. And that's what we'll be highlighting and talking about on this episode of Brewed. Something that I feel I've said so many times here on the show that I wouldn't blame viewers if they made it a drinking game is that art, craft beer, is the intersection of art and science. Obviously, the people that make the beer, they're employing science, but also art. You, as an artist, I imagine there's some science in it, or is there?
Right. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good comparison, and it was one I was thinking about a little earlier too. It's like, art can come in so many different mediums, and with beer, in particular, that's art to me. And so just the different flavors and the different ingredients, and it's the same with mediums for art too. So I don't know if there's an exact science behind, beer design, but overall, I do see comparisons between that.
So inspiration, right? That's everything to you artist types, right? And what is it about beer, craft beer, that inspires you?
Yeah, I got into the screen printing industry and the design industry just because of the freedom and flexibility and just the overall chillness of it. And I really see that with breweries too. So that's one of the big reasons why we hopped on that bandwagon, was because we saw a lot of similarities in what they do in their lifestyle and our lifestyle. So it was just cool to hop in the industry and see a lot of the same kind of chillness and just the vibe that we liked overall.
I love that you're using chillness as something that's...
Yeah, I couldn't find a word for it. But that's what it is. It's like all brewers are super chill, and like and that's the type of people that I wanted to work with in the first place. A lot of this industry is made up of like events, and I just think of it like almost, I mean, just working within this industry, it's just interesting to see kind of what we do versus what other people do, because we want to work with people that are similar to us.
When you guys take a brewery on, do you have to drink the beer in order to feel comfortable doing art for it?
I mean, no, not at all. But it is cool with the clients that we have, that their beer really is, I mean, it's the standard. So, I mean, we work with a lot of local breweries around Iowa City, but I mean, this extends to Des Moines. We do some stuff there in the Quad Cities. So it is interesting to see the personalities of the breweries. And I think that's what's the most fun for us, is just to see, how a brewery in Iowa City is much different than a brewery in Des Moines. From a branding aspect, but that for us, whenever we're designing something, it's really cool to get into their personality and to design something around their brand. And I mean, it's one of the coolest things to see. Everybody's making beer, but everybody's giving it an identity. And for us, it's a dream come true, because we get to work in all these different types of mediums of artwork. For each specific brewery.
You don't strike me as being old enough to remember record stores when they were a thing before they were a hip thing like they are now, when you would go to a record store and go...
I'm a CD guy, yeah. I was a 90s CD
Okay,
guy.
I guess this works for CDs as well. But it's an analogy that they make all the time. Sometimes when I'm at the beer case and I'm looking at all the different beers, there are times, just like I used to pick out records or cassettes or even CDs just by the artwork. I mean, sometimes that's the only information somebody has about the beer is the artwork, and there's something about what's on the can that draws me as a consumer in. And that's your challenge, right? Is getting people to, you are selling something. This is commerce. You want to make sure that the can says, "Hey, buy me," or give me a try at least.
Right.
Can you kind of walk me through that process of trying to create something that is visually exciting and appealing and and ultimately will get a consumer to make a decision?
Well, I mean, you hit it spot on. I mean, if I'm in a different state, I obviously look at the beer types. I have a preference first, but it is what stands out. I mean, right away. And it is really, really important to put effort into that. And so we really model any design that we do for a can. It's all, we have a checklist as far as like, hey, what does this brewery want? So we'll talk to them about, hey, what's your style? We'll get an idea of the brand guide. We'll get an idea of what they, their overall color scheme, beer types, and then how much creative freedom do we have? So we make sure that we have a checklist of like, hey, how much creative freedom do we have? Is it something specifically that they want? So if they have a beer name, is it something that we can kind of design around that and use our own freedom? Or is it something that you guys already have in mind?
Is there anything about the nature of designing for beer, whether it's the posters or the cans or even the t-shirts to a degree, where, Jonnie, you're designing something that's not going to be up on a wall forever, right? This is disposable. These are pieces of art that are going to be returned in the state of Iowa for a nickel a piece. Is there anything about that kind of bums you out, that you're not creating something that's going to be eternal? Or are you?
No, not at all. Not for me, at least. I think it's not, I don't know. I don't really look at it like that. So, I
mean, a poster for an event, right? You can have that up years after the event is over if it's a cool enough poster, and I know people do that, but.
I mean, all the cans that we design, we have. So it's just something that's like, hey, we did that. I mean, that's really, really cool. So I think the most important part for us is just that we stick around as long as they stick around. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. We're not possessive of our artwork or of our, of the industry, et cetera. So, I mean, if it stays around, cool. If not, that's okay too. I mean,
you can understand why.
Answer, but it's the truth. It's just not.
You can understand why there are people that have beer can collections, because the art is just outstanding on so many of them.
And that's the really, really cool thing about can design in particular, is it really is like a little painting that you get to see all the time. So, I mean, It's like you go to the beer cooler and you see all of this art, and it really is as timeless as you want it to be, whether you want it to stick around or not. But
Jonnie5, your work is inspiring, and I want to thank you for your time. Keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, man, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.
I have designed up my own custom bottle caps that I sell for crafters or for home brewers.